Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you both? Thank you so much for being here. My name is Kristen Gutierrez. I am author, best-selling author of Be a Better Sales Leader and keynote speaker and a mom of two. And I am so excited today to bring the Confident Leadership series with two of my friends, Andrea and Swati. And we're talking all things career, leadership, mindset, and I'm so excited for this. So Andrea, let's get started and tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you, Kristen. Happy to be here. I'm Andrea Benzik. I'm the CEO of a global IT managed services company. We have about over 2,000 employees. I've been in the services space almost my entire career. On the personal side, I'm a mom of two daughters, one who just entered college this year and one who's a junior. So we're definitely in the thick of it. But native to California, except for the first 6 years I lived in Mexico, but kind of true blue, kind of Californian.
I love that. I'm in the thick of it on the other end of the child rearing.
I'm out of that stage.
So maybe what I just heard is it never stops.
Yes. It's just a different thick.
All right, Swati, so good to see you here. I have been a super fan of yours for so long. I'm so honored. For those of us who don't know you, tell us about yourself.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. So, my name is Swati. I am an organizational development leader and a certified executive coach at IKEA. And I help both the organization and the leaders within the company, and also people outside IKEA as well, find clarity and confidence in achieving their goals. So, that's also something I do and I'm really passionate about. Apart from work, I am really passionate about travel as well. So I create content on that on the side. And personally, I'm a dog mom, so that's my little fur baby, and I share my life with my wonderful partner. We live in Amsterdam, originally from India, but made my way through Sweden. So it's a long journey, and IKEA equivalent to Sweden. So I had to mention that.
Yeah,
Really happy to be here.
I love it. Yeah. No, my friend just got a puppy, so it is no joke where she's at. Okay. Well, Andrea and I first connected several months ago over Notre Dame and women and leadership, and we started this conversation. And I thought, oh my gosh, all the things I've seen you do, Swati, on the background, launching your own business, and with the leadership and the confidence and the purpose. So I know you just gave us your introduction, but as it relates to this topic of career and mindset, tell us a little bit more about what you do, and then we can frame this up.
So, well, there are people who come to me for many different kind of things that we all go through, the imposter syndrome. So people are really good and confident, but sometimes there can be a trigger either in work or in personal life that can bring that confidence down. So it's not only building, but rebuilding or reigniting that spark that I help them with, and not focusing on the topic as such, because I can't be a advisory on any sort of there are so many things that people do and they're good at and they're great at. What I work with is the individual. What is it that makes them unique and special, and help them find that inner core. And once we have worked on that, they can move mountains, they can do whatever they would put their heart and mind and soul into. So this is what I help them with, being the coach, not telling them what to do, because my journey and my experience would be totally different from what their life journey has been. So it's
Yeah.
asking the right questions, but letting them find their answers on their own and helping them.
Yeah, I love it. Then the theme of imposter syndrome is it's just very prevalent. I've done a lot of talks on imposter syndrome at different conferences. I wrote about it in the book. And I know, Andrea, you were underestimated at a pretty young age. So let's draw the parallels there and tell us about your story.
Yeah, so I would say, from just at a really young age, just socioeconomically where my family was from, got signals early as to even as early as applying to colleges, what was what made sense for me based off of where my family's socioeconomic position was. So applying to a school like Notre Dame was unrealistic, for example. And so, that kind of started a little bit of fire and drive of this, I'll prove you wrong, so, that's fine. But even throughout my career, I entered an industry that's IT, in IT services or in IT, and then functionally in finance, it's a very male dominated, not only industry, but function. So a lot of my career was either the youngest or the only female, either in the teams that I led or teams that I was a part of. And so I think Swati says it right, sometimes maybe consciously or unconsciously, that imposter syndrome. So whether someone was truly underestimating me, but I felt maybe that I was being underestimated, that can kick in. And sometimes you're not even consciously aware of how that's impacting your confidence, because you're looking around and saying there's something different. I feel like I belong here, but you get other signals that maybe that's not the case. And so it's really, how do you not let that become so much of a distraction that it stops you from progressing going forward? So it's definitely something that I've had through with life, had to always be aware of. And what I learned really is confidence is ebbs and flows. There's not you don't hit a peak of confidence and then you're good for the get-go. As life changes, confidence changes. And that's just a normal part of the process.
And there is no magic pill. That's what I tell everyone, because people ask me, oh, how many sessions do I need? It's like, I don't have that answer to specifically tell you. You should be willing to do the work, and then we'll find a way. So there is no one way or the right way. We have our own ways of showing confidence. And it's not always going to be talking out loud, the first one to raise your hand, but also an introverted confidence that comes across in a different way. So it's very interesting topic about the imposter syndrome that comes again and again, and also helping people figure out we are not alone. Just by talking about it is normalizing it, and we should do it more often. Everyone, including me, have gone through that in different phases of my life. So even though I'm a confidence coach, but sometimes I am also questioning myself. Then I go back to my tools and the mindset that helped me come out of that.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to go to mindset next. If you are watching this live, drop some comments in the platform where you're watching so that we can address any questions you might have. And even if you're watching the replay, do the same and we will respond. But yeah, so Andrea and Swati, you just kind of filled in like the confidence and the imposter syndrome and like the journey of working on our mindset. It really is like the growth mindset, not having all of the answers today or tomorrow, maybe being only 1% better than you were yesterday, recognizing that it's a journey. And Andrea, I know that you believe, like both of us, that a growth mindset is critical for confidence, and it's gained and maintained through consistent work. So in this whole realm, tell us a little bit more about your perspective on that, or maybe how your growth mindset has shaped your career.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely part of that. So, some of the areas, I think the nuggets that I've gotten, maybe I've realized more recently that they were always there. So I'm very much part of growth mindset is reflecting backwards, not getting stuck on what didn't go wrong. It's just really just looking at it, looking for patterns. But one of the patterns I think through my life, and I don't know that it was a conscious decision, but has helped me, is just figuring out more out of necessity of getting really comfortable with being uncomfortable always, right? And I think that's a core part of confidence, because a lot of times I still have to stop myself today. It is a very natural inclination to say, I'm not ready yet. I don't have the confidence yet. Once I get the confidence, then I'll make the jump. Then I'll get, then I'll start doing X, Y, Z. And really confidence comes from just getting started. I think you said it exactly right. It's the 1%. It's very easy. I think everybody does it, but probably maybe females more than others, where you overly critical of yourself. You start overthinking. I can't believe this is how that went. I don't know if I should do. And really saying the goal is just say, am I 1% better than I was the day before? Am I going to do, and sometimes it goes the way you want, sometimes it doesn't, but really giving yourself a lot of grace, but recognizing that getting started is where the confidence comes from. And just, you just start doing it and you'll look back and say, I remember 2 months ago, XYZ, I was afraid of public speaking. I was afraid of speaking up in a meeting. I was, whatever it is that you're trying to, I'm afraid of the difficult conversation. And it may be a disaster the first time. I did hear somebody say, you have to think about it is when you do it the first time, that's going to be the worst you're ever going to be. So it's only going to get better from there. But it has to be a very deliberate, because it is scary. I think it has to be a very deliberate and conscious practice that you do. I think it gets easier over time, but I'd say I still, even today, I'd say great career, but there are days where I literally have to, like, I'm looking myself in the mirror saying, you just got to move on this.
Yes. So many things you talked about, and Swati, I'm going to ask your opinion too. But action, taking action, and like getting out of our own way, and just like moving forward. I mean, these are core principles, I think, of so many of us, right? And Swati, I know you have a whole, I'm sure maybe it's a session that with your clients, but also just like some ideas around reframing negative self-talk. And so talk about that as you kind of respond to what Andrea was saying.
Yeah, so there are, so nobody would say that I don't have a growth mindset. When we are in a positive state of mind, we are all like, oh, yes, I know what to do, how to do. But the tricky part is when you are not in a good space or something has triggered you, what do you do then? So I work mostly to kind of tackle that part. So there are simple tips that I share on my LinkedIn and Instagram as well, that, reframing what you say. Andrea already mentioned, I haven't done that yet. So the power of yet, I'm sure we have all heard about it in different ways. Then there is another thing which we say, I should be doing this. I need to do this, right? So just rephrasing that or reframing that, rather than saying I should, I want to. So then you own, right? And I will. So if you just change the same sentence and just use that word, try. It won't happen in day one, but ask somebody who is your partner, a friend, or a confidant, or your kid, that whenever I say that, can you just stop me and say that I should be doing this, I should be eating healthy, I should be going to gym. Can you just mention that? Mom, you mentioned should too many times now. So then how do you reframe that, right? Then there is very interesting thing that I found is this confidence journal that I started creating for myself, especially when I have a big presentation or big meeting coming up, or there are these thoughts of imposter syndromes, or things are a bit low or going down. So what do I do in this confidence journal? It's built over a time, right? So every time I get a praise from anyone, I write it down. What did I hear? What did they say to me? What did they tell me? What did I do to deserve that praise or that compliment or that remark or that good, comment? And then I build a proof of what am I good at? And I go back and look at that. Oh, whenever that imposter syndrome feeling that comes in, I'm like, it was actually real, and it builds over time. It could be personal context, it could be professional context, it could be in your business, your clients, even your kids can say the same things to you. And then when you feel like the days when you're not 100%, then you can go back. No, I've had that as a tool to look at whenever I have that feeling. So I call them as confidence.
Yeah. No, I just like, I know we were geeking out on this confidence journal right before this session started. I'm sure so many of us, like, say in the chat, if you've saved emails from your boss or your peers or your coworkers, but the concept I'm hearing you talk about right now is kind of like, it almost feels like you're physically writing it in a journal.
Yep.
And so while maybe I was doing a version of it, which is better than nothing at all, I just wanted to acknowledge that it's such a good idea, and maybe like talk about it a little bit more, or for the people in the back, or like, Like, and do you carry this thing around? I mean, this one would be small enough. It would technically fit in my purse or my car, but like, I don't know. Just tell us more about why a hardcover version of that journal really
Yeah.
works.
So maybe I'm old fashioned. I don't know, but I like to carry a diary or this journal where I write it down. In my childhood, when I was growing up, every time I wrote something down, it got imprinted in my mind rather than just texting or typing or just remembering, because their memory fades out quite fast, especially the good ones when you're going through bad times. And just writing it down in a physical hard copy, you have a physical proof to look at. You can paste pictures into it, and that's why the whole albums and collages were so popular, or still are popular, that you go through those memories, right? Even though we have gigabytes of data in our phones and laptops, how many times do we even look at those pictures? We still go back to those old childhood pictures, right? There is something to it, that the concept of, touch and feel, that gives you some kind of hormonal happy hormones, I call it, that when you look at it, that you wrote it down, it's no one else. So looking at your own handwriting maybe gives you another kind of feel to it.
Yeah,
So that's why I prefer. You
I
can
love
do it in whichever way you would like, but I recommend a hard copy.
And I
And
would agree
yeah,
very much with Swati on, and I think you mentioned too, how what are tools, like what I like about what she does is what are the tools to get you in the right mental state, right? Because really it's a mental game a lot of times. Another thing that I've been watching Swati do, which I think is also great. I've been watching your 8-week challenge that you started between now and December 31st. And what I like about that, I think that other people should realize, is sometimes tools to get you in the mental space or gaining confidence in something that you want to do, it's actually challenging yourself in a different area to put yourself in a right mental state to say, okay, I just did a challenge, something that I thought was hard. And I was able to do that, even though that thing, whether it's as simple as drinking water every day, right? You're going to make sure you get the right level of sleep, your nutrition, all of those things add to your energy. I think energy is a huge part of staying in the mental game. But deciding to run a fight, something that you thought was difficult, maybe it's the stakes aren't as high, so you're more willing to engage in that challenge. But when you complete that, you kind of have a sense like, I did something that I was giving myself all these what I couldn't do. You accomplish that successfully. It kind of starts building that mental confidence. Like, okay, now I'm really ready to go challenge this scarier, more hairy thing that I feel like the stakes are a lot higher. But you have that, very recent win that you got, saying, I can do, remind yourself, I can do hard things. I can put my mind to something and I'm able to get that done. And so sometimes finding that confidence or gaining that momentum actually comes from challenging yourself in an area that maybe isn't quite as scary, but is still challenge you to do something that you kind of have put on the shelf or said, oh, I could never do that. And I wouldn't underestimate how the power of that to actually help you in other, maybe what you would perceive as scarier areas.
I'm
It's so
taking
nice
notes
that you
right now
mentioned.
because I need it. Yeah.
No, I was saying
I
that's
was
so
saying-
nice that Andrea mentioned this 8-week challenge, because the challenges that I'm putting are like the simplest things ever. But like you mentioned, even the small thing or a challenge or a goal helps you realize that, yeah, you can do much bigger things, but you need those proof points. So that's why I started with like the basic, simple, but they have been hard for me, drinking that much water. Keeping my 2 liters of bottle on the side. So thank you for mentioning that, Andrea.
Yeah. Okay. So this is crazy because the time is like blowing by, right? So I just want to bring up the concept of the leadership angle of all of this, because so many people are still rising to the top and they want to know how to grow beyond their role, right? This is something I help coach individuals and organizations with. And Andrea, you're in the C-suite right now, right? And Swati and I, we both own our own businesses, so same. Let's just tie the concept of confidence into leadership to wrap this up for the next few minutes. I'm going to broadly say that. And I know, like, Andrea, did you want to kick us off, or do you want me to give you some more leading? content to work with?
I'll just kind of go where I think one of the topics, and if I think more just from what's become more critical with confident in terms of leadership, and especially as I've entered the C-suite. I think one key thing with confidence, especially when it comes to your career, is, and it becomes more important, I think the higher you get, is clarity. Confidence comes from you having your own clarity, right? If you say, I'm not confident, but do you really have clarity of really what you want to do, who you want to be, what's the type of leader? Because it's really easy, especially when you're an individual contributor, you're used to someone kind of giving you the parameters of this is what you need to do to get to X, Y, Z. Once you really get into that lead spot, you're kind of defining for others of what that looks like. And so you're not really going to get as much as someone guiding you of this is where you want to be. That needs to be either from a network or system that you have of people. So you're more reliant of those other leaders that maybe embody the same values. But starting with that is really starting with yourself and how much the inner game plays, and really getting clarity with yourself. And it's important all the time. I definitely think as you get higher, it's really making sure you take that time to have that clarity of the type of leader, where you're going, what you're doing, because it does not come to you as much as it would have in earlier stages of your career.
Clarity. It was like the theme of my week last week. So I love that you started there. Yeah, Swati, what when we talk about confidence and leadership, what does that mean for you?
So I always say leaders are also humans. They are not superhumans. So we need to remember, all of us being in leadership or supporting leaders in whichever capacity, we need to remember that. So the power of vulnerability and being true to yourself, and what Andrea mentioned, clarity. And that's like the first thing that I work on before even talking about confidence. You need to be clear about who you want to be, not what do you want to do. That comes later, but what is your legacy going to be? What's your real reason or purpose why you want to be here in this place, in this team, in this organization? What do you know? So we start from that, and then you build towards confidence. Sometimes I see leaders taking a back seat for themselves, putting themselves a little bit, putting their team first, which is great, but at what expense? So we need to balance it out and make people also realize that you need time for yourself, for your downtime. Because if you're burnt out, especially in middle management, I have seen that quite a lot. You have the pressure from top, and then you're trying to save your team underneath from that pressure. So you are the one that are being crushed. You need to remember that you can't save your team, or the airlines have gotten it right. Put on your own oxygen mask first. So you cannot help others until you help yourself first. So that's why either access to a coach or a therapist or a personal trainer or these kind of things are really, really important, because then you are working on yourself as a person, as a human being, and added on to with leadership qualities. So it's not going to be a training that tomorrow you'll be an amazing leader and trainings, but we need to work on the core of this person.
Yes, this is so great. If you hadn't said put your oxygen mask on first, I would have. I think we were all thinking that, right? But also the three of us, we've done a lot of work to get to where we are. And so the idea is that here we have three unique individuals from totally different backgrounds, literally and figuratively, right? Coming together, talking about this very important topic of confident leadership and how to grow your career and improve your mindset. And yet we are all kind of arriving at some of the same points, not to be overly agreeing with each other, but nonetheless, like to say, yes, if so many people are saying something, maybe you should look at it, right? Look at hiring a coach like Swati. Look at finding a mentor like Andrea, or, asking for help, right? Getting over your imposter syndrome, growing confidence, leading beyond your role. So in the interest of time, I cannot believe it, but if there's one last thing you each want to leave with us today or leave the audience with, the floor is yours. Andrea, you can go first. Like what are your closing thoughts, or what's that last thing for you?
I think I would just say encourage people, especially if you're in a place where you're not confident today, right? You're not odd. It's not. I mean, it's easy to look at the people that when you're on screen and you're in a confident state, say they're just like that all the time, or they've achieved that and they must have just had confidence their entire. It's not true. If someone says that's the case, they're not telling the truth. And so part of it is part of the process, right? Having lows is part of the process, is part of the learning. So if you're in that state, just give yourself some grace and, I mean, using the word confidence, but just trust that you'll get there and you'll hit those peaks. And also, even if you're feeling really confident, also recognize that there's going to be a time maybe that you're, enjoy it, because you'll probably have a lull at some point, but that's all completely normal. And I think it's just embracing it and just creating tools for yourself to say, I know what to do when this happens, right? And so that you just don't get stuck.
Yes. The tools. Yes, tools. So Swati, tell us your closing thoughts and give us more tools. What do you have?
So my two tools are collaboration and co-creation, because alone you can go a little distance, but together you can go far. So that's why I really love when these kind of opportunities, Christine, thank you for this, that we come together and we bring this out to the many people out there in the world who would want to listen to these stories and not struggle on our own when we are going through that. So dare to ask for help, dare to ask for collaboration as well. Sometimes you will hear no, that's okay, but what's the worst that can happen? So these are the two words that I always take with me, that they are, sometimes people get into a more competitive mindset and they think that, oh, in leadership you can only go here. It's like there's so much to do in this world, so many people. If you want to sell 8 billion people in this world, so you can sell to many people. So that's why I take them, if you collaborate and co-create with a right intent, with a good intent, your confidence will go much higher, because you will learn from the skills of others around you.
Yes, right. No leader is a leader without the help of others anyway. So yes, if you're aspiring to get to the next level in your career, or you are a CEO and you want to improve your growth mindset, 100% ask for help. Surround yourself with other people.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much. Andrea, was there one last thing?
I was just going to say, the other thing that I'd add is no leader has gotten there alone. There is not a leader out there that's gotten there alone. So find your people, your network, and have them rally around you.
Yes. Thank you. Perfect ending. I really appreciate you both so much. I hope everyone found this helpful. I know I did. So thank you. And we will see you around. Thank you so much.
Thank you.